Okay, hi guys. So I am going to do a video now on theories of forgetting. So hopefully by now you guys have done the evaluative points for long-term memory. So the topics now: coding classification done, multi-store model done, working memory model, and types of long-term memory. So you should have full AO1 and AO3 notes from all those topics now in your notes. Okay. So the next subtopic, theories of forgetting. So with theories of forgetting, it's kind of split into two different parts. So you've got interference and you've got retrieval failure. So if you were to be given a question on theories of forgetting, those are the two theories. So one theory, we forget things due to interference, so I'll talk about that in a minute. Another theory, we forget things due to something called retrieval failure. You may have come across retrieval failure when we looked at the multi-store model, when it went sort of from the long-term memory back into short-term. Sometimes it said at the bottom decay or interference or retrieval failure. So those particular parts where we can't quite remember things that are stored in our long-term memory, we can't quite bring them back to our short-term or our working memory. So we're going to look at interference because there's a couple of different types of that as well. And then we'll look at what is meant by retrieval failure. So starting with interference. Okay, so there are two types of interference. You've got proactive and retroactive, so we'll distinguish between the differences of the two. But basically, as a general term, interference is when you've got a memory that is affecting or influencing in a negative way another memory. So it's basically like a conflicting memories, basically. So it might either result in you completely forgetting the memory completely, or it might mean that one or both of the memories are distorted or changed in some sort of way. Okay, because memory is quite vulnerable. They can be distorted. They can be influenced by lots of different things. They're quite fragile. So you might have a long-term memory already, and then new information comes in that starts to kind of warp and distort it. And that becomes more clear as well later on in the topic when we look at things like eyewitness testimony, viewing a crime and not remembering what's happening, and things changing and distorting our memories. So that's kind of links to interference. So it does tend to happen more, or more likely to happen, if the two memories that are conflicting with each other or interfering with each other are quite similar. Okay, so you may have had a scenario where you've had a phone number, a mobile phone number for ages, and then you get a new one, and all of a sudden you get confused, you might get mixed up, you might forget your old one, or you might keep saying your old one to people instead of your new one. So that would be a good example of two very similar bits of information because they're both phone numbers, and they're kind of interfering with one another. Okay, so when we talk about the two types, you've got proactive interference. This is when old information that you've previously learned that's in your long-term memory is interfering with new information that you're trying to learn. Okay, so the new memories that are coming in are the ones that are being affected or distorted. They're affected by what's already there. So it's like the new information is trying to get in, but it's being changed, or it's interfering and conflicting with the memory that's quite similar that's already stored. Okay, so for example, this would be an example going back to the phone number that you've had an old phone number for ages, so that's solid in your long-term memory, and then all of a sudden you get a new phone number and all you can remember is your old one. Okay, so the new information that you're trying desperately to learn is just being ruined and interfered with by the existing phone number. Okay, so that's proactive interference, old memories affecting new memories. Retroactive interference is the exact opposite. So this is when you've got a new memory that you're now learning, so new information that's actually now interfering and distorting the previously learnt memory. So for example, same example with the mobile phones, you now can't remember what your old number used to be because all you can remember is your new number now that you've kind of rehearsed that. Okay, so retroactive is now the old memories are the ones that are being affected by the new ones coming in, and it's interfering it that way around. Okay, so it can either be new affecting old or old affecting new. You need to make sure that you've come up with a really good method of remembering which way around those go, because students get it wrong all the time. Proactive interference, the new memories are being affected by what's already there, so you can't bring anything new in. Retroactive, the old existing memories are being affected by the new information coming in. Okay, so again, whatever you need to do to remember that, you can come up with that in your own way. Okay, so in terms of description, you would just need to describe and maybe give a couple of examples of proactive and retroactive. So key terms, what is interference generally, what's proactive interference, a definition and an example. So you can use the mobile phone one, or names of pets. You know, you might have had an old pet and then you get a new pet and then you keep calling them the wrong names, things like that. Again, same definition for retroactive and an appropriate example for that as well. They tend to give lots of application style questions on that, you know, so they'll give you a little scenario and then they'll ask you to apply your knowledge on interference and talk about what might be going on, why that person in the scenario might not be able to remember their new number. So again, making sure you remember the way round that they go is really crucial. Okay, so we're going to look at some examples of some evidence to support the idea or the theory that interference will take place. So there is a study by McGough and MacDonald in 1931. I'm not going to kind of read out the study to you, but those are the people that did it. So McGough and MacDonald in 1931. So what I'd like you to do is just literally either look it up in the textbook, it probably is in there in the Green-Haired Girl book, or if you type in McGough and MacDonald 1931 interference, you probably get the study. So what I'd like you to do is look that up and write out the aim. So what are they trying to find out? So obviously they're aiming to see, to test the theory of interference. The method and procedure, so what did they do? The findings, so what were the results, and then the conclusion. So at that point when you conclude it, you need to be linking it back to what it suggests about interference. So what the findings actually suggest to us about our old memories, our new memories, and how they can interfere. Okay,